Doing good, sir. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Hope you're having a good summer. We just wanted to drop in and talk to you a little bit about all the things happening. We talk about college football in this show, and I certainly remember you from your days with the Buckeyes. You were one of my favorite players. You and Mike Doss were two of my favorite guys of all time. And being that close to the Buckeye program, obviously you've seen what's happened the last few weeks. What did you think when you saw the addition of USC and UCLA being added to the Big Ten, Donnie?
And it's professional football. It's going to be professional football. I mean, it's just what it is. So, it's the Pandora's box is already open.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And we've been talking on the show. I mean, it's probably going to continue. I mean, there's been talk about these mega conferences being formed, and we kind of expect it to continue and for additional teams to be added. I mean, what does that do to the tradition? I mean, you obviously played in those big games against the team up north. We don't say that dirty M word on this show, but you played in those games against those big rivals. And do you think this takes away from that a little bit? I mean, obviously Ohio State's still going to play them and play the team up north, but obviously some of the rivalries are going to get shaken up with these new teams coming to the conference.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have. I mean, somebody's going to two teams in, two teams out. It's basically going to be the end of two teams in the Big Ten. But I mean, or is it going to be a 32-man? I mean, just take the top 32 teams and just do like the NFL, 2 leagues, 4 divisions. It is what it is.
Who do you think if the Big Ten does expand next? Obviously, Notre Dame is the linchpin. If you were the commissioner today, where else would you go besides Notre Dame?
Nowhere.
Just keep it as is.
Yeah. I think.
I mean, you gotta go. You gotta look around and find contingency, but I think that's the make or break move.
You think that's the next? Yeah, I mean, we both think that's probably the next big option, and we think that's kind of why things have stopped right now, is because they're trying to, work out a deal and get Notre Dame to join a conference, which they've been hesitant to do. But at this point, these guys may eventually break apart from the NCAA, and there's been talks about these conferences, separating themselves from the NCAA. Do you see that as being a possible thing that may happen, Donnie? And what do you think that looks like?
Man, anything's possible. I mean, it's the Wild West right now. People are gonna act in different ways when there's not much regulation and there's no way to really enforce anything. So it's become professional football. NCAA football is no longer amateur sport. Hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
So let's just treat it like it. Let's pay the players, let them get part of the TV money. That's what nobody wants to talk about, is the TV money.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the only other place in the world that someone does a great amount of work, and where does the money go that's generated from?
Yeah.
Not to them.
No, right now.
If you don't get something that you're paid for, then you're working for who? Like, you're working for the school.
Yeah, you're working for free. And, it's not like there's not money to be given to these players. Look at these salaries that these coaches are getting. A lot of these guys are making north of $10 million now, and that's just their salaries. I mean, they get money on top of that. They get free cars, they get houses, they get all that stuff. So, I've always been for the players getting their piece of the pie. They're the ones out there, as risking their bodies. And this is a physical game. And, there's been changes that would have made my playing football pretty much obsolete, because everything that I did as a safety, hitting people over the middle, is now illegal. But, there's still the chance of injury. So, you got to give these guys a chance to make money. What do you think about the, going after these high school kids and paying these kids to come to these schools? Because that's what's happening. I mean, the NIL was really developed to pay the kids that have been playing for these universities and giving them a chance to make money after they've been on TV and help the universities get money. But that's not really how it's working. A lot of these kids are getting paid to come to these schools right out of high school.
Absolutely.
And we don't like that. What do you think about it, Don?
Well, I mean, it's been going on. It's always been going on. It's just never been legal for everybody to do it. So there's always a amount of resources thing. So Ohio State has endless resources. Like, we should recruit well. But now it's okay, you can pay the player a certain value that's not the same, depending on the value of that player to your program. That's where it gets a little hairy.
I mean, now looking at your recruiting process coming up, and granted, it's changed so radically as we talked to people in the past. I mean, it's like night and day. It's like, well, heck, it's not even the same universe. Growing up outside Columbus, was there a lot of pressure for you to go to Ohio State? And who else was recruiting you? And like, what was that process like for you?
Man, it was wild. It was letters. I got letters in the mail when I was in high school, and then Ohio State. I wanted to go to Ohio State, of course, but I started to get some offers. I went to an Ohio State camp, ran a pretty good 40, and then started getting some MAC offers like Akron, Ohio University, Miami University. Got all the MAC schools, but Ohio State just wasn't really sold on me, and they had somebody decommit. I'm not sure who decommitted from that class, but it opened up, and I took the opportunity. It scared me to death, so I knew I had to do it.
Probably easy. As soon as you got the offer, it's like you committed on the spot, I'm guessing, right there.
Yep, I'm like, yep. Yes.
Well, that was a good thing it was a good thing for Ohio State that whoever decommitted left, and they got a chance to get you, because you had a hell of a career, and we loved watching you play, man. My biggest question now is thinking about the way that these kids are being recruited now, with this transfer portal and everybody being allowed to jump from school to school. Some of these high school kids are getting left out in the cold because there's not as many scholarships to get. Some of these schools are wanting to go and get kids that have already played and wanting to, get somebody from another college that maybe has a year or two under their belt, so they don't have to spend the time developing them. What are your thoughts on that, Donnie, as far as some of these high school kids having nowhere to go because there's thousands of people in the damn portal?
It's free agency, and everybody's a free agent. Nobody's got a contract. So, I mean, it's professional football. Let's treat it like it, so we can get some regulation and order before, because you're gonna have people that have donated a lot of money and paid a lot of money for a lot of players to be at a certain school. So there's going to be expectations, and it's in the contract too, the NIL contracts.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're gonna want return on investment eventually.
You look back through your career, through high school, through college, and even the pros. You've probably had a significant amount of mentors who really create good guidance for you along the way, not only for you as a player, but as an adult. Who had the greatest impact on you, and what advice did they give to you?
Man, I'd have to say Coach Tressel. I mean, he had the biggest impact on me as a father, as a brother, as a son, like the things that really matter. And those things you don't see until you don't have them anymore, or you're on the verge of losing. So just the encouragement, and never got too high, never got too low, just stayed right in the middle. But his advice was just to live your life like that and be happy. And I was a little stubborn to accept the seed that he was planting, but it sprouted up just a little late.
Man, I got to be honest with you. Coach Tressel is one of the best men that I've ever met in my life. After I played football at Ohio Wesleyan, which is a little bit north there and a lot smaller than the Buckeyes, because they weren't calling me due to my speed. But, I worked in the industry and sold the headsets that the coaches wear on the sidelines for CoachComm after I got done. And I got to meet Coach Tressel several times. And I had my grandfather come over to the Ohio State clinic one day. And Coach Tressel just happened to be walking by, and I introduced him to my grandfather. It was my grandfather's greatest moment of his life, by the way. But, the next 2 or 3 years, Coach Tressel would always come by and ask me how I was doing, like he always did. And then he would ask me how George was. And the fact that he remembered, who my grandfather was, when the guy meets hundreds of people every day, just kind of shows you what that guy's all about. I mean, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest coaches that's ever graced this game. I don't know if you agree with me or not, Donnie.
Yeah, it's impossible not to agree with that. Being on the team and witnessing it firsthand and really getting to improve my life because I was a player at the Ohio State University when Jim Tressel was there. Like, really, that's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one thing we've talked about with other people that have come on the show too, as well, is so many of the fans just see 3 hours on a Saturday, but they forget about all the stuff that happens off the field, in the locker room, and all that predicates what happens on the field. I mean, if you have a crappy locker room, you're completely gone. I mean, it's not like you roll a ball out there and everything just kind of comes together. I mean, having that kind of mentor out there, it just makes it. I mean, how was it? How did he help develop you guys, especially on that 2002 team where, I mean, it seemed like you look back at that Purdue game, you guys came back right at the end. And, going up against that Miami team that everybody thought was the giant of the day. And you guys just kept being in there and just really making them struggle right down to the end.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was because every football team is a family, right?
Yeah.
It's the ultimate team game. And Coach Tressel just made the family very tight. So we were very close. And how he did that was through forced getting to know each other in awkward experiences, which I'm eternally grateful for. But man,
can you share any of those awkward experiences, or are those things that cannot be brought up?
No, I mean, they're not. That's nothing dirty. I mean, it's just the pressure. All right, we're standing in front of a couple thousand people. Am I going to have to speak? So do I have to prepare a speech? Because you could call at any minute, and you could be given a dissertation on biology for a Coach Tressel. I mean, he calling coaches. Why don't you lead us in this one? And man, I mean, I was nervous of that. So I can go out there and play all day. Yeah.
Yeah, Tress keeps you on your toes, man. There's no doubt about that, and that's why his teams, played the way they did. I mean, there was a lot of close games I remember from that season, and a lot of the seasons that Tressel was the coach. There was close games, but the thing that separated him, from other coaches and those teams from other teams was they won those close games due to his attention to detail and the way that he, prepared his teams. So that's what I think was one of the reasons that made him one of the greatest coaches of all time. But,
just the cadence, his cadence, the way he calls plays and manages the game is just so it's just constant and persistent, and it's just smooth. It doesn't allow for anybody to get out of control, either up one way or down the other.
No doubt.
Was the practice like that too as well, where like every second was scripted out from the second you stepped it on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Every practice that I ever had at Ohio State was like that. Everybody runs a tight ship. I mean, Coop ran a tight ship. Tress ran a tight ship. I mean, you got to be doing that. So
yeah.
But yeah, everything down to the minute. It was trying to get seconds. So how can I get 30 seconds to coach my guys, this or that? And I was just sitting there all along for the ride.
You played now football and football and baseball in high school. Did you play any other sports besides those two?
I played 2 years of basketball and then 4 years of baseball. Won the state championship in baseball.
Yeah, that's what Nate was telling me before the show. You see more and more kids that are specializing today. What are your thoughts on that? I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I just got to hear your opinion from,
Like I got kids. My kids are 14, 10, and 8, right in the middle of baseball, and my son's starting football. So I don't think you need to specialize. Like, I want them to play as many sports as they can. You just find out what you like, what you don't like, because not all sports are the same. and then you're not going to be as good at all sports, wherever your talent lies. And then are you in a good position to be successful? But I don't like my son's going to play tackle football for the first time this year. I'm a little nervous, but I think he'll do fine. He's pretty quick.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to ask is, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I just have a little daughter, so I don't have to really worry about it. But, I do know, it is a game where people can get hurt. And so I don't know if I had a son, I don't know if I would let him play. I mean, I would want to because I love the game so much. But, was there any hesitation in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. But I wanted it to be his decision, so he made that decision. And then once he did, I felt comfortable with letting him play too. The goal was to be 7th grade, so he almost made it. He'll be in 6th grade coming up.
Nice.
Now, what would be the advice you would give, having gone through what you've gone through your entire career, and you're talking to a young athlete that's going to play college ball today, or even wants to go play pro, or even coach? I mean, what advice would you give to those people today, knowing what you
go for it. Go for it. Follow. If that's your dream, you got to follow it till you can't follow it anymore. There's no experience that I would take back. I wouldn't trade anything for any experience that I've had. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And just playing professional football and at Ohio State I've seen the entire country. I've played in every stadium. I've met so many great people and have so many great relationships because of football. It's truly made my life better. And I mean, that's why we play football. At the end of the day.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's why me and James love college football the way that we do, because, that's who made me who I am. I obviously didn't listen to everything that was told to me, but, learning how to be a football player and learning how to function within a team, I think helps prepare you for life. Would you agree with that, Donnie?
Yeah, absolutely. It just puts you in adverse situations constantly, throughout the day. And then how do you handle it? So what do? You just got to get used to being uncomfortable and just sitting in it.
No doubt. And Donnie, we really, really, truly appreciate you coming on today. And before we let you go, I just want to get your thoughts, as a former captain of this team, what do you think about what Coach Day has done so far? And what do you expect out of him moving forward? Because the guy's been pretty solid, since taking over. And, I kind of feel like the sky's the limit with him. What do you think about him from when he's taken over from Coach Meyer, and what do you think about him going forward with the Buckeyes?
Man, congratulate him. I mean, he's done a great job. I mean, that's no easy job, and it's almost seamless. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. He's a great coach. We got a great team, and I mean, it's going to be rough for anybody chasing us.
No doubt. I mean, talk to us just before we let you go. Talk to us just a little bit about. I just feel like there's an immense pressure that's been around since I've been following the Buckeyes to win every single game, and to be able to deal with that. That you guys dealt with it, Coach Tressel dealt with it, and now Coach Day's dealing with it. Just talk to us a little bit about whether does that exist, and how do you deal with that, knowing that you're, kind of expected to win every week?
And it's difficult. It's not the easiest thing, especially when you're winning, it's fine. It's just when you're not winning, then it gets rough. So just keep winning. Just keep winning, baby. Just win.
Everybody's happy when you win, right?
Yeah.
No,
got a little Al Davis in you there.
Yeah, no, there's
I got a funny story about him.
Yeah, I've been a Buckeye fan since I was 5 years old, and I can tell you there's some crazy people, man. And they lose one game and they feel like the sky is falling. And
there's no fan base like the Ohio State fan base. It just doesn't exist.
No.
There's just so many, and it's so such a great thing to be a part of. It really is.
Yeah, it's a worldwide brand. So anyways, man, we truly appreciate you coming on and talking to us for a little bit today. We know your time is valuable, And we appreciate you coming and talking to us. And we loved watching you play for all those years, and loved getting a chance to talk to you today, man. Thank you so much, Donnie.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right,
Have a great day.
Donnie.